So this next little bit is going to be just going through the second half of this chapter where the authors did the research study. So I'm thinking mostly about, say, page 139 through the end of the chapter. So 139 through probably about 150, 151 when they start to discuss their results. And in reading through exactly what they're measuring, you can see that the narrative quality and the imagination are right there on pages 139 and 140, broken down into their three components to show you when they were watching the videos of the kids playing, they were looking for this, and this, and checking whether or not they could see evidence of it. So they tried to keep track of some of the other things that might be influencing kids' narratives, so their IQ, their socioeconomic status, and so on, creativity that was already existing for the kids. And the good thing is that when they checked all of those things at the beginning, they didn't find a lot of significant differences between their control group, who wasn't going to get any instruction, and their treatment group, who was going to get this four-part procedure that they were getting, the 4 stages. So that flips us over to page 142. The intervention program in the experimental group was some actual teaching. And I have to emphasize, this is great that they said this, that they didn't get in the way of kids' play. They actually had these separate instruction sessions where they got out stuff and showed kids, here's how I would play with this, watch this. And then so they took these sessions where they were encouraging spontaneity, minimizing the role of the adult. So they were doing all things that they could to kind of prompt things and get them started to elaborate and extend on the narrative drama that kids would act out during play. So read through that subsection, the 1, 2, 3 on page 142. Those will give you key ideas on what the actual research was doing, what they were trying to see, will this work or not. And so stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4 showed all of the different things that they were trying to teach the kids. So they showed them how to enact with familiar objects, how to use multiple objects and substitute objects for other things, how to use imagined objects and complicate the plot structure. These were the 4 stages. And with the results, I'm going to flip over to page 146 just so that we can look at the way they put them in a table. They're not as easy to read inside of the in the chart instead of the table. The table puts all of the numbers next to each other, shows you the means and the standard deviations, and then those means and standard deviations are played out for you on the next page in these scatter plots. And what we're looking at there essentially is we're looking at 2 groups. We're looking at the control group, which in almost all of these you can see kind of have a flat line across time in segment A, segment B, segment C, segment D. The things that the teachers were doing were not done with the control group. This was just a group that was doing things business as usual without this theory being put into place. The lines that are increasing on either side, right here and right here, those are the kids who actually got the treatment. So in all of their cases here, they're showing you that kids who were poor and kids who were middle income were growing in fairly similar ways when they were given this intervention. The kids who were poor tended to be measured as already having kind of a disadvantage. They started out with less of this type of play, but by the end of the study, both groups had outperformed the middle income and the low income group. The ones who had gotten some teaching in how to really push their play forward had shown more evidence of these complexity and the other things that they were trying to measure. So. And those are all outlined in the A, B, C, D of figure 6.1. So you can see each of those 4 elements that they were teaching. They checked them before they got taught. They checked them after they got taught. And they outperformed the group that wasn't getting any teaching, hands down. So you would want to check the statistics on that to see, does it actually end up being significant? And they are a little bit hesitant about some of their significance and so on. But when they walk away from things, they're fairly confident that imagination and narrative are things that you can get in and enhance as teachers. If you know what you're looking for, you can get in and help the kids do just a little bit better at it than they would on their own. And that gets us back to the theory behind the study, which is it's coming from Vygotskian theory. Vygotskian theory has always put out the idea that you can't just let kids only develop on their own. If you throw them out there and play, they'll reach a threshold where some of the kids don't know what to do to make it better, and some kids are just following, and they reach these plateaus. And what Vygotsky has always said, and I'll get a couple of his books out here off the shelf. So Mind and Society, Thought and Language, these are the two key contributions that Vygotsky made. And in his theorizing, he found that with the kids he worked with, that when adults got in and helped the kids along, or even peers, if older peers got in and showed the kids, here's what you do next, that people were able to make these leaps forward that they weren't going to make on their own. So when you throw a bunch of 4-year-olds together, you get to a 4-year-old plateau, and the 4-year-olds don't know how to get each other up to the next stage or the next level. This is a big argument for mixed-age classrooms, that if we have kindergartners, first graders, and second graders all in the same classroom, that the second graders are actually able to bring the kindergartners along much faster. I've seen this happen in first-second split classrooms, that teachers are able to bring kids along much faster in reading and other things when they've got the other kids there to show them what to do and to kind of set a higher mark for where we want to get to with reading and writing. So this study kind of brings us to that point where we're saying if teachers learn how to get in and help kids play and facilitate that play, give them what they need, and coach them a little bit on where they want to go next, that you're going to get a richer classroom, a classroom with deeper and richer narratives, stories, and dramas than you're going to get if you just let the kids go off and play on their own. And the other parallel to that is that teachers who are doing that are doing something that's way more human than focusing just on achievement in academic areas, that we're actually getting kids to where they understand humanity and negotiation, and they understand themselves and how emotions impact our cognitions and so on. They're developing a theory of mind, all of these things that are so valuable for us in later life, that we encourage those things through play with language, play with stories, and so on. And it's not to downplay the value of the logical and the categorical knowledge that we get in academics, but that in current schools, we're impoverishing the play side at the expense of trying to get a little bit higher test scores. In literacy, I'll show you some of this in class, we actually haven't even succeeded at the test scores. We've focused on test scores for the past 20 years, and nationwide, we're still flat. We haven't shown that much growth over the past 20 years in our literacy test scores, even with all of the focus on that. Cutting recess, cutting playtime, cutting creative writing, cutting the arts, and so on. We increase the amount of time on math and on reading and so on, and skills-based approaches to those, and we don't get any results from it. So why not come back and do what's human, and grow better humans and teach those humans how and why they want to use literacy and math, reading, writing, and math. And I think that we'll reorient ourselves a little bit better. So that's the theoretical side of it. So you'll want to familiarize yourself with those results of the research study and exactly what they're saying. If you don't spend the time with those tables and figure out what table A is, what table D is, what the results are actually showing, and then go back in and see their discussion of how they think they're valid and not valid. That's what's going to be on some of the quiz questions. All right, talk to you soon.